in our notes today that look like this. If you just want to take out a piece of paper and write it down, or if you have a printer at your home, you could print the handout from the wiki page today. We're basically looking at the schedules of reinforcement, so you can be thinking about the operant chamber in terms of how it can give consequences or pellets out. So when you know how many behaviors or amount of time will pass before the consequence, it's called set or fixed. And you can just write set or fixed under the word no. When you don't know how many behaviors or time will have to pass before a consequence, it's called a variable or random. When we're talking about number of actions that require that you actually have to act in order to receive the consequence, a certain number or a random number of times, ratio is the word. If you think about math, ratio is like a number thing. So think about number of actions. Then when I think of interval, I think of amount of time. So just to define all the words that we're talking about here, we're talking about a set number of actions expected before the consequence is given. So that would be a fixed ratio. And then when I'm talking about a random number of actions expected before the consequences are given, that's a variable ratio. So if you think about the operant chamber, we've been working a lot with the fixed ratio. Either your rep presses the bar once every time and gets a pellet, or maybe every 5 bar presses they get a pellet, but it's a specific number of actions. That's called fixed. We could set the operant chamber on a random where the pellet could fall at 5 or 7 or 10. This is really the most addictive schedule because you don't know when you're going to get the reward, but you know it's going to come if you keep working at it. Now, when it comes to interval schedules, if a set amount of time passes, that's called a fixed interval, and you want to write these definitions down if you were absent. And then if a random amount of time passes before you have to get the consequence, then it's called a variable interval. Now, the thing about this that confused me in the beginning is I thought only the time had to pass. But if I put the operand chamber on a fixed interval, let's say every minute, actually the minute has to pass, then your rat has to press the bar, then they will get reinforcement. So in an interval schedule, you still have to behave. It's just that the consequences are not based on your actions solely. It's more based on the amount of time that passes. On a variable interval, it could be a minute or 2 minutes or an hour or days or months, just so that you get the idea that it is on a timed thing. All right, so I told the class today we may have some kind of snow issue tomorrow, so I'm giving a quiz, which is going to be expected that people do if we don't have school, but I'm also going to include it for the absent people just so you can get more practice if you want. Okay, thanks. Ooh, and before I quit, sorry, I did want to also just make sure you write down that the variable ratio is the most addictive. All right, go back and pause if you need that again. Thanks.